This lesson looks at calculating parts of parts. Previously, we've been looking at multiplication of fractions using visual representations. In today's lesson, we're going to start using the standard algorithm, and this goes with CPM Chapter 5, Lesson 1.3. Before we get too far, I want to remind you that if we have a number such as 2 1/10, we can also write that as a fraction where we have 2 1/10 as our numerator and 1 is going to be our denominator. Sometimes you'll run into a problem such as, let's say, 4/5 of 2 1/10. Okay, remember that you're able to then say it's 4/5 of 2 1/10 over 1. Just keep that in mind as you're working on different problems. Okay, the past few days we've been looking at problems such as 1/2 times 2/3, and we would draw out a visual representation such as our area model, where we would shade 1/2 and then 2/3, and we'd say, okay, these two pieces are common between the yellow and the red shading, so we have 2 pieces shaded, and there are 6 pieces total. Okay, well, what do we notice about our fraction as we work our way across? Well, remember, when we multiply, we can go straight across. So we do have our 1 times 2, which gives you 2, and that tells you how many pieces you have in common. And the denominators, you can also just multiply straight across, where you have 2 times 3, which gives you 6, and that tells you the total number of pieces. And by using this, looking at what's in common and the total number of pieces, you're going to be able to solve multiplication problems with fractions much faster, where you have just multiply straight across. So try 1 or 2 problems, and then we will go from there. Okay, look at the problem 4/5 of 1/9, or 4/5 times 1/9. If we used one of our diagrams to solve this, it would take a while, but it should only take you a moment or two to solve using the standard algorithm. Go ahead and solve it, and then I'll show you my solution. When I solve it straight across, 4 times 1 gives me 4, and 5 times 9 gives me 45, and I have a simplified solution there of 4/45. Okay, try another one. Try 5/8 of 2 5/10, and I did set this up a little bit differently because it's a different, the problem might be a little bit more challenging when you look at it first, but go back to the beginning of the video if you don't remember what I said about decimals. Okay, pause the video, try to solve it, and then we'll go over it together. Okay, the first step that I'm doing is I'm adding my denominator at the bottom. Remember, 2 1/2 is the same as 2 1/2 over 1. Okay, then I'm going to rewrite the problem just so that it's a little bit easier for me to read as we go through it. And I'm going to put the full equation there. Okay, and I know that my denominator is going to be 8, okay, because I'm multiplying 8 times 1. Then I can do 5 times 2 1/2 and just multiply that as you regularly would. When I multiply that out, I get 12 1/2, and then I just move that number up as my numerator. So I have 12 1/2. If I wanted to, which is optional, but it's not required, you can multiply that by a giant 1, and I'm just going to do 2 over 2, and here's your giant 1, to give me 25 over 16, which is a little bit easier to simplify because then I'm using whole numbers, and that will give me 1 9/16 as a simplified solution. Okay, you could have stopped at 12 1/2 or at 25/16, but usually it's good to simplify the problem if you're able to do that.